The terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001, remain one of the most catastrophic events in modern history. On that fateful day, 4 commercial airplanes were hijacked by an extremist group named Al-Qaeda, who set out to carry out a devastating attack on the United States. The attacks resulted in the deaths of nearly 3,000 people and caused extensive damage to some of the country's most iconic buildings, including the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. The attacks not only shook the nation to its core, but also had profound consequences that continue to be felt around the world to this day. In this, we will take a closer look at the events of September 11th, the impact it had on the world at large, and the ongoing ramifications we still face in the aftermath of this devastating event. The morning of September 11th began like any other day for many people in the United States. People were making their way to work while others were finishing up their breakfasts. In New York City, the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center stood tall, with thousands of people working in the buildings. At 8:45 a.m., everything changed when American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Initially, many people believed it to be a tragic accident, but it was soon revealed to be a coordinated terrorist attack. Within 15 minutes, United Airlines Flight 175 hit the South Tower, causing widespread panic and chaos. As people tried to evacuate from the Twin Towers, first responders, including firefighters, police, and other emergency personnel, rushed into the buildings to save as many people as they could. Then, at 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, causing extensive damage and killing 125 people inside the building and another 59 people aboard the plane. Meanwhile, a fourth hijacked plane, United Airlines Flight 93, bound for either the Capitol or the White House, was taken down by its passengers in a heroic effort, denying the terrorists their ultimate goal. The passengers had learned of the attacks on the other 2 planes via phone calls from loved ones on the ground and deployed their own counterattack, forcing the plane down into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, killing all on board. The aftermath of these events is well documented, with the destruction of the Twin Towers and the loss of life shocking the world. The cleanup and recovery efforts would take years to complete, with the immediate response focused on finding survivors amidst the rubble and debris. The terrorist attacks on September 11th had a profound impact on the world, leading to significant social, political, and economic shifts. Immediately following the attacks, the United States declared a war on terror, the consequences of which are still being felt today. At home in the United States, the attacks led to a wave of patriotism and solidarity, with people coming together to support one another in the wake of such a devastating tragedy. However, there was also a sense of fear and uncertainty regarding what was to come, as people worried about the possibility of future attacks and the safety of their loved ones. Internationally, the attacks caused significant waves, leading to changes in foreign policy and relationships between nations. The United States, under the leadership of then-President George W. Bush, launched a massive military operation in Afghanistan, where Al-Qaeda was known to be sheltering and operating. This operation also led to the toppling of the Taliban regime, used to openly harbor Al-Qaeda, and the capture and eventual execution of its leader, Osama bin Laden, over a decade later. The impact of the attacks is felt to this day in terms of national security and access to travel, with increased security measures in place at airports and other public venues. On a personal level, families and loved ones of the victims continue to grapple with the emotional and psychological aftermath of losing someone so suddenly and tragically. 20 years after the attacks, the ramifications of the events of September 11th are still being felt around the world. The war on terror has now stretched into its 3rd decade, leading to continued military operations in different regions, as well as an ongoing push for global counterterrorism efforts. The events of September 11th also led to a rise in Islamophobia, with Muslims around the world being stigmatized and stereotyped as a result of the actions of a radical extremist group. Many humanitarian crises and ongoing regional conflicts, including the continuing war in Afghanistan, have also been fueled by the global response to the attacks. So, dear friends, the September 11th terrorist attacks were a devastating event that shook the world to its core. The loss of life and damage caused continues to be felt to this day, with ongoing consequences that shape political policy, international relationships, and daily life. As we mark the 20th anniversary of these tragic events, we must remember the lives that were lost and work together to make a better world that is free from fear, hatred, and violence.